6 o'clock, time to call the July 10th, 2025 Parker Water Board meeting to order. We've got from staff, Deborah Lisansky, Nikki Hoyt, Rebecca Tohoida, James Roach, James Mann, and our manager Ron Red, and legal counsel Jeff Parker. From this board, we've got Bill Wasserman, myself, Merlin Klotz, Don Langley, and Robert Kanawha, and Brooke Booth is excused tonight. Time for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any unscheduled items of public interest? Seeing none. Any changes or additions to the agenda?
We have none.
None on the board? Okay, board comments?
I have none tonight.
Robert? I do have. When we took over the board 10 or 12 years ago, we set a couple principles that we tried to follow. Growth pays for growth, rate pays for rate. They're principles, not policy. And because of that, and because of what we've set aside from tap fees, and some of the great job that Steve has done over the years in dealing with bond issues and finances, we've got what to the average customer would appear to be an excessive amount of investment and cash reserves. And in fact, the average customer might say, we ought to be giving a rebate or a discount, a payback. On the other hand, if you understand what we're in the middle of as far as growth, and the fact that all our capital projects have so much lead time, 2 to 3 years for water treatment plant or for wastewater facilities, or our Platte Valley project, the lead times on that and the capital expenditures are substantial. And perhaps that what looks like to the average guy, the uninformed person, as not sufficient reservoir, or as too much reserves, perhaps we don't have enough. But at the point is, I think, and Don and I have talked about this offline, he's been concerned about too. Perhaps it's time that we establish some financial policy. We look at, in 2007, if I recall, we had like 1,700 new SFEs. And so for the last year or two or three, 600, 800, something like that. It's varied, but it's not that much. But interest rates go down, we could see some years of 2,000 to 3,000 SFEs, new SFEs. And so it complicates what's in front of us. And so what I think we need to be doing is looking at what's right as far as this. So Don, you got some comments on it.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Merlin. And I'm going to kind of do this from, I'll say, some prepared remarks, because I want to try and be respectful of everybody's time and not start wandering around. But if you recall, and I think it was either in April or May, when we had a financial update from Steve, and we talked about the need to maybe establish a better structure on how we manage our reserve and operating funds. They're substantial, no doubt about it, in size. And we have them allocated now kind of in a matrix. We have capital funds, non-capital funds or operating funds. We have restricted, unrestricted, and we have water and wastewater. That's kind of the structure that we have right now. But what we talked about then was maybe looking at a better structure, I'll say, something that's maybe more precise, and something that we can use to manage things maybe a little bit better. But one thing I want to make clear from the onset here, I'm not saying that something's wrong. I want to make sure everybody is clear on that. There's not a problem here that we're running off to fix. I think this is a step in the evolution of the utility as we become a growing, leading-edge, progressive water utility. I think it's a natural evolution that will maybe be a little more sophisticated on how we structure and do our financial management. If we do this, then I think it helps us learn or how to allocate based on needs, and then we do that based on levels of funding that we think we need to reserve and then also use, and then set this policy so the board and the staff have a clear view, a very clear pathway of the future and of our financial objectives. So I've been working on this a while. I've met with Steve for several hours, and I've sat down with Ron and tried to talk about how to approach this. And I think where I'm at now and what I want the board to consider is we would probably be well served to create a financial management policy. So there's capital letters on that for Mr. Parker, but establish an actual formal policy. Part of this policy would then be, how do we allocate and use funds from reserve and operating funds? So it would fit into a bigger policy document, but this would be a piece of that. This is obviously something you don't create overnight. I'm not advocating to create policy just to create policy. Although at my HOA, we did have a committee that was set up to write policy on how to write policy. So, that can happen, but I'm certainly not advocating with that. So I've been doing research too, trying to understand maybe what other people do, what goes on in the industry. That's part of why I sent you the State of Water Industry report from AWWA. I passed out a paper here tonight for the board, which is just a really short and sweet 3-page paper that talks about the value of having financial management policy, the kind of things you can get from that. And interestingly enough, it's one of the authors is Stephanie Stanley, and I don't know if Ron, if you know her, but she's the CFO at Highlands Ranch Water. I may tap into Sam and try and get some time with her and just get a little bit more feedback on that. So, but let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, because this is there's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot of ways we can go. I don't have the answers. Got a lot of ideas, but I think it's kind of where Merle and I are headed is this is really board work, and we're going to want to try and get with the board in some fashion to kind of start to flesh this out and see where it might take us. But in my example, I mean, the district, like most water utilities, is very capital intensive. We all know that. We all understand that. We invest large sum of money in assets. Often these assets are in the ground before they even generate, $1 of revenue. And certainly over the decades, we've developed, hundreds of millions of dollars in assets that are in place, and they're now aging. And although, we talk an awful lot, kind of face daily the needs created by the expansion of the utility and what additional assets we're going to have. But we also need to make sure we care for the assets we have right now. And perhaps our view of these needs is now emerging with age. We're a young utility, and a lot of the big-time replacements that you'll see back east and stuff. We haven't been around long enough to start to see that, but it's upon us maybe, and certainly in some areas of the district, and more coming. So ongoing care of these assets, I mean, that takes funding too, and these funds are not insignificant. I would submit that it's wholly appropriate for us to accrue cash balances for infrastructure replacement and renewal. It's reinvestment, and I don't think that's in question. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about. And at the moment, we don't really have that delineated, I'll say. We don't have a fund that is for rehabilitation and reinvestment. And, that's part of what I think we need. We do, if you're going to have a fund that's a repair and reinvestment or repair renewal fund, then we certainly need to tie that very tightly to an asset management plan. I think there's a lot of that that's more or less in place. I mean, we're looking down the road. We got our CMMS program coming along, which gives us pedigrees on all our equipment and life expectancy and all that kind of stuff. So that's a key piece that we can use. But right now, our reserves are more or less unallocated, and I think we need to look at how do we allocate these funds in a way to meet a need like this. So again, this is one example of what a fund might look like. There might be 2, 3, or 4 of these funds. Don't know. I mean, that's something that we've really got to try and look at and wrap our minds around. So that could be, how we do that and how that's managed and operated, how you put money in, how you take money out, all that kind of stuff. That would be best governed by, a specific and clear policy. So that's what I'm trying to do. And you say, well, what would be in that policy? It could answer questions like, well, how much should we be holding in reserve, for renewal and replacement? Do we use like accumulated depreciation as a guide, or asset age, or book value? What kind of parameters do we use to determine, what's the best target, how much money we'd like to have in there? Can we indeed tie it to an asset management plan? And is that part of the policy that it will be tied to an asset management plan? How are they used? I mean, when does staff know to say, okay, I go to that fund for this expense, and the controller says, yes, that's right, and that comes out. So, what's the process for doing that? How often, and most importantly, from what sources of revenue do we use to fund these funds, to put money into these funds, and how do we replenish them, and when do we replenish them? So there's kind of a process to manage that, and and that leads to I think what would be a target value that we would say, okay, this fund, our target is $38 million. It's below that, we need to allocate some more money. It's above that, we can back off, and kind of work it down. But that target may also change over time. As we have more assets, we add assets, and the assets age. So the thinking is, a process around how to create that and manage that kind of fund. So, it's a lot to think about. It's why I've been having discussions with Merlin, how do we engage in this? How do we take this on, right? It certainly feels like a lot of board work. That's kind of where the 3 of us have kind of landed. We think, I'll say we, that's Merlin, discussions Merlin and I had, that this merits a working session, or maybe multiple working sessions, to try and, sit around the table, roll up our sleeves, and really start to try and pound this out. And again, I think it's, I'll go back to the beginning comments. I think it's really part of our evolution. I think it will give us, clearer pathways, clear understanding. It allows us to, I think, have very defensible positions on how much cash we have in the organization, how much funds we have. But it's there for a purpose, and we know the purpose, and we think about the purpose a lot. We don't just accumulate cash, and which is a good thing. It's good to have a strong balance sheet, no doubt about that. So we don't want to jeopardize that. But I think it's an opportunity for us to do something better. And again, I'll make sure I'm clear. I'm advocating for this. I guess I'll use that term, not because something's wrong. I mean, it's really not. I mean, we're in a great spot. You know, a lot of great things happening. But I do think it's an evolutionary step. So that's a comment.
So, since this is the first time hearing about it, a couple thoughts came to mind. First of all, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. I think the timing is off here. Let's wait till we get our new CFO financial guy on board. I think right now, we're not calling it that, but we allocate for repairs and things like that. Maybe we have to go, you know, in the civilian world, the public sector, or private sector, I should say, you're going to have somebody that's managing asset depreciations. And that's a full-time job pretty much, with somebody looking at where your assets are and then depreciating it and then looking at replacements. So I think in one sense we're doing that now, but I think what you're saying is you would like to have a tighter control or more structured control, I think, on there. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think that we need to make sure our CFO individual's on board, give him a little time to get his feet wet, and then we start, you know, if we want to start on that road.
I don't disagree with that. I think we've got a new CFO coming on, whoever he's going to be, and he needs to be deeply involved in this. But I do think it's a broader direction we need to be moving in. We're no longer a small entity. We're larger than a lot of publicly traded corporations today. And yet we've got so many variables in what's in our future, be it the rate of growth, be it the interest rates and the impact that may have. There's all kinds of variables that we're dealing with. And I think, yeah, we've got, 18 million of restricted funds for contracts already issued. We got substantially more than that that's reserved or unreserved. And the reserved category is more of a strong commitment. We know we're going to need those funds. But to leave our balance sheet with a whole lot of money that's not reserved, and we really know we've got a lot of expenditures coming up. They're capital expenditures. I think we need to look at that very closely, and this is a way to look at that. So thank you, Don. And this is just we're putting it on the table, and there's a lot of work we'll move in that direction, but probably a 6-month project. So, Ron, you're trying to say something.
No, I think it's all great stuff, and we'll treat it like a project. You know, we'll get I love what you said, Don. It's connecting the dollars to the purpose. And so we have that vision. We'll get where we're going. We'll lay out how we'll get there. But I think it's a great idea. It's time that we get there. And last time we hired a CFO, Merlin gave Steve 3 months to get an ERP. So it feels like history replacing itself, a policy, financial policy in 6 months. So we'll see. We are interviewing folks tomorrow. We might have to ask them that. But no, I think it's a great idea.
Robert, do you have any thoughts?
No, I'm all in favor of guardrails. I think it's a good idea. Definitely worth pursuing and taking a look. And I also agree with Bill in terms of the timing. It looks like we're getting close.
Hopefully.
Yeah, can I just make one more quick comment? Because I think there's a lot of this that I'm going to say I think lays with the board at first. And I don't, I mean, I spent a lot of time with Steve, and I think Steve and I really came to the conclusion, it's like, well, this isn't like a CFO task. You know, this is not something that we turn to the CFO and say, you need to take this on. Obviously, the CFO is going to be heavily involved. There's a lot of staff that will be heavily involved, operations and the directors, you know, everybody be involved. So I think we can move forward. I don't think we have like a gun to our head that this has to be, you know, there's not a deadline on this. It's something that, I mean, when budget time comes around, it'd be nice to maybe know where we're going and see if there's any parts or pieces, you know, that could be implemented then. If not, it's not. So it's a journey, right? It's a journey. It's not a, we're going to have this done by the end of the year.
Destination.
Yeah, it's a destination, so.
Absolutely. And one of the thoughts is to get some help to make sure we know what to look for and or what the board should be looking at as well.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, leadership team comments.
all right. Well, first off, I want to introduce Nikki. I know you know Nikki as our customer service manager, but she is now the acting director of enterprise services until we fill that role. And so you'll see a lot of her until we hire our new CFO. So I appreciate her giving up her evenings and being here with us tonight. So let me start here. All right, so this is the time of year. It's always depressing, but it's it's why we have the reservoir. It goes down a couple hundred acre feet every couple weeks in the middle of summer, and so we're just seeing that we're down 227 acre feet, which right now equates to almost 5 inches of drop. So, but I love seeing this chart. It's been a good couple years, water-wise.
Yeah. There's a lot of water there.
Yeah, 26,428, so it's good.
The rain this afternoon didn't bring the water back up.
No, not yet. I'll give it a few days
The
to get
10
in
drops that fell.
there. Yeah, it's been a good summer. It's been like an average summer, water-wise. Couple of things I wanted to bring up. Last board meeting, I was asked to talk to Cheddar from Shea, get some of his ideas on growth, and I forwarded you guys his write-up, which I thought was fascinating, actually, the information that he pulled out so quickly. And then I did talk to another developer. He's not currently working in Parker, but he is the one instrumental for the Canterbury development. So he does a lot of development. He's actually working on stuff, I believe, in Elbert County. And I just wanted to summarize what I read from Cheddar and what I talked to Jim. And it's interesting, there's some overlap there, but it's different perspective. And it was eye-opening to me because in our bubble, we're not seeing a slowdown out there. We're at 350 units already, and we're just not seeing that. And but both of them had a much more pessimistic outlook over the next 18 months to 24 months. So I thought I'd just summarize. I'll start with Cheddar since you've seen that, and then I'll go to Jim. But again, Cheddar talked about they're anticipating 8,000 homes in all the Front Range, which seems like a lot, but he says it's the most muted market in the last 20 years to only have 8,000 homes coming up. He did say Parker Water's market, or our service area market, is healthy. We're a microcosm of the bigger market, but Shea is actually down 10% from a year ago, and they're seeing that. He sees home prices, not just in Shea, but elsewhere, dropping 10 to 15%. Builders are trying to get rid of their inventory. So that was interesting. I'm not sure my son would agree with that, but the home prices are coming down. He had a term I never heard of, the locked-in effect. And Jim mentions this too. one of the bigger markets are people who bought a home and 5 years ago and now want to move up. They have more kids, or they want, more room, or just a nicer home. They can't leave their 3% mortgage to go to a 6+ mortgage because home prices are higher and the mortgages are up. So they're losing out on that major buyer. And so that's one of the thoughts he sees happening. And again, he has 18 to 24 months of recovery time out there. So Jim, very similar. I like how he put it, and he's willing to come talk to you about growth in the Front Range all day long. So if you're interested, I could bring him in. But he said the high cost of construction, the high interest rates, and the high home prices are creating what he calls the lowest home sales in the last 10+ years out there. Again, he talked about the locked-in effect, the 2.5%, 3% interest rates. People do not want to leave that. He mentioned, and I think I heard this from afar, but they have data that shows there's a lot more people leaving Colorado than coming in. So that's a big concern for them. The state budget issues that they're having and state politics, he feels, are something that's driving people away. And then he again feels things are improving, and it'll take, again, up to 2 years. He talked about, he knows the process very well. The interest rates have to come down. There's a consumer confidence part that comes up. You just have this slow process even in the best of times. So I appreciate you asking for that information, because I think this may impact our budgeting for 2026. We never tend to go very high on new homes, but it'll be more of a conversation knowing that we probably might see a slowdown. Again, our bubble, we're not seeing that. We have a lot of lots ready to go, but they're having a hard time getting rid of them. Cheddar did think you'll see a drop in prices to get rid of inventory, but not the backfilling of those homes. So it's a lot to chew on. So, but it's very interesting. So I want to pass that along, that I did talk to Jim Marshall as well. So any questions?
I would totally concur with what you've said, except I could see if interest rates came down sooner, I could see that there's a lot of inventory in the market that will clear out very quickly if interest rates drop, and of used inventory. And their inventory comes in probably the same issue, but I could see that we could, if interest rates come down, Douglas County could be an island that really benefits. When in recent years we had Denver dropped 6,000 population, and we picked up 6,000 basically because of politics. So I could definitely see that we might be an exception to the state, but I was seeing a 51% exit and a 48% inbound number. So I definitely concur that Colorado is one of the states losing population, and blame it on what you want to. I've got my opinion why, but so I think Cheddar's pretty much on, and the question is how fast.
Right.
And that's kind of one of the big variables that we were talking about, that we could all of a sudden have some 2,000, 3,000 SFE years, and we're going to have a couple more 600 SFE, but we've got lead time on every one of our capital projects. 2, 3, 4 years lead time, let alone the Platte Valley project. And so I think that all fits into developing a flexible finance policy. So, yeah, I would concur with what Cheddar said.
And for the board's knowledge, we'll look at what we think a growth rate is, and we'll be conservative, and we'll come down from that. I think the mistake is to go up, because then when you do the math, you think you have way more money to spend that hasn't shown up yet. So we tend to do that. I've actually lived through a 2,000 SFE increase in Castle Rock, and just make you old. That is a lot of families coming in. So, okay. I also, quick update on our CFO. We are, as I mentioned, we have 3 great candidates. I've been noticing the term financial policy plans. A lot of them have experience in that, so that's good. They're a very diverse group. Looking forward to meeting and talking to them, but we have all 3 tomorrow, and hopefully, we have someone that comes out of this. It's actually been a really positive process with a recruiter, and what I love is they get to know them really well, and they can pass on some things you don't pick up when you read resumes. So hopefully I'll have some news in the near future, but we got 3 really good candidates. If you want to look at them, I brought along the packet for that. So any questions on that? Okay, and then Nextdoor Post. I wanted to put this up here for a couple of reasons. We've been we average 1 to 2 calls a day, usually on the chloramination, chlorine conversion. And, for the most part, people are just asking what's up and what's going on. But it's tough. We have a few folks out there that are very upset with this. But I want to tell you about one that Deborah put on my desk today. It was positive. It was a call out to her group, that Nextdoor group. Like, hey, I highly recommend you get on Aquahawk. My neighbor, who's hearing impaired, had a 200-gallon per hour leak, which is significant, and couldn't hear it. And call Aquahawk, let her know. And Kylie, one of our operators, was out there, and she was very, very grateful for Kylie. She even went under the subfloor and helped get it turned off and stuff like that. So we love that. I don't think our customers realize when we get that occasional, hey, thank you, you guys are doing a great job, it's just uplifting for the folks that serve. So I wanted to pass that along. All right, next up, our Acting Director of Enterprise Services, Nikki.
Welcome to my very first Enterprise Services update. So there's just a few things I'd like to update the board on this evening. So I'm going to update you on the CIS, which is our new billing system. And I know Jared gives you guys updates on a regular basis, but this is more from a customer service perspective, and just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of what our teams are working on, and that's the customer care team, customer billing, and field services. So we are in the home stretch, and we are super excited. We are still on target to go live in October, and so the teams are knee-deep in testing, and we are testing anything and everything from processes to procedures, integrations, just making sure that the functionality is there, making sure that we're prepared and ready for this change, and that our customers are ready for this change. We're doing a lot of work and configuration on our customer portal, which will be replacing Aquahawk. So just making sure that all of the leak alerts and thresholds and communications are ready to go, and that when customers sign up, it looks familiar, and it's all of the functionality that they had before in Aquahawk. We're working on our bill redesign. We're really close to getting something out for everybody to take a look at, and so we're super excited about that. We have a whole design team working on that. And then we're also working heavily on our communications plan to customers, getting them ready for this change, letting them know what to expect, working really closely with Deirdre and Ned. So just a lot of work going on behind the scenes. Really excited and really looking forward to our go live in October. So
I am concerned, very concerned.
It'll be good.
Okay, my concern is about the auto billing transfer over, as well as the Aquahawk transfer over. I've had several situations where the vendor changed the policies and I missed updating the auto billing in particular, and with someone that's used to auto billing, and it still comes out $100 a month, whatever you used to, and all of a sudden you miss the fact it didn't come out 1 month, and you're not even looking at the bill that much. So I'm really concerned on the communications that we get out and the transition that we have to go through as a customer on that. And the people are going to miss that and not make for friends.
Well, I completely understand, but I can assure you we're working very hard on that communications plan and making sure that we're meeting the needs. We know that this is going to be a difficult change for our customers. Again, they're going to have to re-sign up for, as they leave the Aquahawk platform, sign up. But we're also trying to make it an easy transition as possible with, and we're still working on those details, making sure that whatever we can transfer for them that's more seamless that we're doing. And then, of course, we're testing that. We have Guy who's managing all of that and is doing a fantastic job making sure that all of that is ready to go. And there's just a lot of planning and a lot of work that's being done. And so I can tell you from my perspective, I don't want this to fail. You have my word that we are doing everything that we can to make sure that it's going to be good for our customers. Now, nothing's going to be perfect.
No, I'm sure
but-
what you've come up
Yep.
with is very good. It's the customer that,
Yep.
is he going to grasp what he needs to do to make the transition?
And we have an amazing team that will be there to support them as well.
Okay.
So, we have our customer service reps now will be on the phone, even now, helping folks sign up and set their alerts and, get everything situated so that it's functional for them. So I feel that we're in a good place and that we have an amazing team that is dedicated to supporting our customers and helping them through this transition. Questions or concerns, thoughts? Okay. So the next update I'd like to give you is just a update on Steve. So his last day with us was on July 4th, and then he's out of the office for the next couple of weeks. And then he'll be under contract with us for the next couple of months. And just wanted to give you a high level of some of the activities that he'll be doing just to kind of support us during that time. So he will continue to lead and finalize the 2025 cost of service study. He will assist with the 2026 budget and annual rate update. He will assist with completing the arbitrage calculation for the 2020 bonds. And will continue to work on the water rights portfolio as discussed with the auditors, so just making sure that all of that is wrapped up and completed. And he will be assisting the new CFO coming in by documenting job duties and instructions, as well as training that CFO as needed and where they might need some help in providing that support. There's other things that he'll be doing as well, but those were kind of the main things that he'll be doing to continue to support us in the district. So any questions? So the final update that I have is on our Omni Register Replacement Program. And this is a program that our Field Services Department has been in charge of. They're doing it all in-house. And this is related to the registers on all of our large meters, 1.5 inch and larger. And those registers, their battery life is nearing its end, and that's at a 10-year mark. And so we have about 700 registers that we have to replace within a 3-year period, because when those registers die, they just go blank and they quit registering consumption. So not a good thing. So we want to make sure that we get ahead of that.
It's okay if it's your meter.
Yeah. No. So we started last year with replacing 100, and that was really just so that the team could get their feet under them, get a process documented, and get prepared for this year where we were going to do over 300, and then in 2026 do another 300. And we've kind of hit a milestone. So far for this year, we're at 54%, and we're ahead of schedule, and everything's going really well. And then overall for the project, we're just at about a little over 40%. So just a great place to be. And more importantly, we're slightly under budget. So Steve would be proud.
So there's like 26,000 accounts or something like that?
No, 22, we're just under 22,000 accounts.
22,000.
But these are just for our large meters. And so in 2016, when we started the project, we had about 700 large meters that we replaced. And when we started our AMI project, we replaced all of those in a very short period of time. And so that inventory was ordered, and that's kind of what you get left with. So we're working hard also just to kind of make sure that as we move forward, this doesn't have to be a CIP project every 10 years. So we're working on how we kind of spread that out over the next years as we replace
I
additional
mean,
registers.
it's all 22,000 at some point in time, right?
That's in another 10 years. But yes, you're correct. We'll be looking at another meter replacement project as the life of those meters begin to end. Yes.
The batteries or the meter itself?
It's the electronic metering itself. The meter itself works. It's really the electronics that are in the meter, that battery life. So we have a 20-year warranty or battery life on our smaller meters, 3/4 inch and 1 inch.
Do we have any concerns about some of them that we might not replace till next year or 2 years from now that could fail before then? Or
We're basing everything off the manufacturer date, so we actually started this early, just to get ahead of it a little bit early, so that we didn't have those failing before we were able to get out there. We also have reports in place so that if one were to fail, especially like a large meter that produces, that has a lot of consumption going through it, that would show on an exception report, and we would know pretty quickly. One of the challenges we faced with having to do this a little bit early was with supply chain issues, and that's gotten a lot better since. So we're in a much better place. Yeah, you're welcome.
Other questions?
Thank you.
All right, I just have a few updates for tonight. My first update is to update you that you're going to get an update next meeting. Director Canal had asked a great question about the design build process and how the off-ramp works. I've got 2 engineers who are DBIA certified, that's the Design Build Institute of America, and they appreciated Director Canal's questions, but they also are engineers and wanted a little bit more time to put together a very thorough response. And so next meeting, we're going to present a general overview of the design build structure and model, and then specifically how we're going to use it for the North Plant expansion. We'll give you an overview of how the contract is put together and then how those off-ramp works, just so that if you have any questions, you can ask them at that time, or if you have anything early and want to get it to us in the next week or so, we can incorporate that into the overall update. So any questions on that?
On here.
Great. The next update is both a staff and a project update. So the engineering team has bi-weekly meetings. We get together every other week and we discuss our projects. And then about every other month, we do what we call a field trip, and we go to one of our project sites as a full team, just so that who's ever managing that project can talk about it and showcase what's going on there. And so 2 Mondays ago, we were at the HES 3 well drilling site. That is one of the kind of ancillary wells that's going to be feeding into Reuter Hess Well House. And so that's a picture of the team there in front of the drilling rig. And it's just a really good opportunity for our team to share what's going on with the project. This is a site where we're drilling both an Arapahoe well and a Denver well, so we're in the drilling process right now. The other thing I wanted to showcase is that this site is actually located fairly close to one of the newer developments. So this is Stroh Road, and then up here is Chambers. And so where that well drilling site is, it is close-ish to a neighborhood, and so that neighborhood was notified that this drilling activity was going on. A letter was provided talking about what activities would happen, and we actually installed a sound barrier wall right in this area so that they wouldn't be having to see the equipment as much, and then any lighting from it. And it was a great opportunity. The communication went really well. We haven't had any significant complaints or questions about it. So, and if we do, they know exactly who to call, and the project manager can walk them through what activity is going on there. But it's just a great opportunity for our team to get together and share their project experiences with each other, and really to just better understand what's happening in the district. Any questions?
Here.
No, I'm good.
Great, thank you.
Good evening. This is the meeting where we go through some numbers. So looking at the last 3 months, we have our Reuter Hess water purification facility in Wise Flow in June at 6.4 MGD. Our well house flows at 11.6 MGD, and you can see that they've gone up from April, as you would expect. And then the average production for all of those is 18 MGD for June, going up from 13.2 in May. And our wastewater treatment facilities at 4.1 MGD, that's the north and the south plant, and water going up to Reuter Hess at the Cherry Creek Pump Station at 800,000 gallons per day. We were making up some water on Cherry Creek, and that's why not as much water went up to Reuter Hess in June and May. And then
Have we gotten all the water that we owed?
I think we have.
I think we have.
Yeah. And as Ron mentioned, the Reuter Hess Reservoir volume going down from a high in April of 27.2 down to 26.8 in June. So looking at the water production by source, one of the interesting things to note on this page is that last year our total production for June was 505.8 million gallons, and in June 2025 was 462 million gallons. And that's attributable to the slightly wetter June that we had this year, but I think July has come in with kind of a roar. Yesterday was actually a new record for the district in production at 25 MGD. And our percent renewables for 2025 are 31%. And last year they were at 35% function of the sources. An interesting, I'm sorry?
That includes Wise Water?
Yes, yes it does.
Yeah.
An interesting happy note to give to you is that the water plant
Happy note.
is close to 10 MGD. We've installed the skid with the new membranes that we've ordered, and we've gotten the cleaning is doing much better. So we're very happy with the production right now, and we're very close to producing 10 MGD out of that water treatment plant, which is, as they say, just in time. So it's nice to have that online.
Just love it when a plan comes together, right?
It is a blessing. Water quality calls. So when you look at June, you see that there are a number of calls, 36 or something like that. But one of the things to note with that is that my superintendent to put this together, actually those are 18 because they are taste and odor. So when they came in, they were noted as both taste and odor separately. So that number is a little bit lower than what we're seeing, about half of what's on there. So when we kind of debriefed before I brought this to the board meeting, talked about that, but they were called in as taste and odor. Issues are recorded that way. One of the things that we've talked about, we'll get to the chlorine in just a moment. We'll finish this, the locates for you. So the locates for June of 2025, very close to June of 2024. Not much difference at all, actually. So locates have remained steady. So the chlorine conversion. So we've had some concerns from customers, and it's worked out, as Ron mentioned, to roughly, there's a fraction, but we'll say that's about 2 people per day on average since we've started this process have called in. There have been some that have been kind of centered around the canyons, and we've gone out there and talked to these folks and tried to reassure them about the safety of the water and what's going on and how this process is happening, why we're doing it, and so forth. But I wanted to go through this with you and let you know what operations is doing. So this is the kind of some information on the chlorine conversion. So it began on May 27th when we switched from monochloramine to free chlorine. and the purpose was to remove mineral deposits and reduce biofilm risk throughout the district. If you recall, when I was doing some of the residuals, you could see the residuals were dropping off throughout the distribution system. And part of that is, in fact, due to a biofilm buildup in the system. So this is a normal process, this conversion that we did, and it's an important process, and it helps to eliminate that biofilm and to keep our residuals strong throughout the distribution system. It's a public health process that all municipalities will do if they're on monochloramine at some point. They'll need to do this. So it supports a stronger disinfectant residuals. It also works well with our new filtration system. So we're producing clean water out of our wells now, and we want to make sure that our pipes are also clean so that when we deliver to our customers, they get the best product that's possible. So this conversion, the chlorine conversion itself, was completed in 3 days. Dylan, our water resources supervisor, put this together, and he actually, the average amount of time at each of these, it's a little difficult to see, but you can kind of see the green in there, and each one of those is a site that was tested for the conversion. So when we were looking for the conversion from monochloramine to chlorine, they went to each of these sites and they were doing this, and they were also checking the hydrants and making sure everything was working. And each site was about 6 minutes. So then the next part of this is the annual distribution system flushing program, which you have seen each year. And this year is no different, except for we are just clearing this out after getting the chlorine into the free chlorine state. Targeting the end of August, one of the things that we are doing is we've talked to some of our seasonals and some of the district service folks. They're actually helping, so we're seeing flushing that's occurring during the day and into the evening as well. So we're increasing the amount of effort on this, which will reduce the amount of time that the entire distribution system maintenance, the chlorination conversion and cleaning is going to take. When I was talking to them, we're looking at cutting off between 1 and 3 weeks by doing this this way. In addition, each of the hydrants are being not only filled with the oil that's necessary for them, but they're also being greased and being noted on their condition for painting as we go through. So I have a little, there it is. Okay.
Alan, did you have something before we go further?
Yeah, just a question with this intensive flushing. I guess this hops over maybe to Rebecca. We'll see a pretty large non-revenue production number when we start looking at the numbers at the end of the year?
We will account for that because we always work with operations as they estimate how much water they used for flushing, and we do incorporate that into it. We typically flush 1/3 of the system every year. Is that correct?
We're actually getting
Yeah.
the entire system.
Yeah.
done
So
this.
we'll be doing the entire system. So that non-revenue water,
It'll be
it's not
bigger.
going to go up by a full, 60%, but I think it will go up because of the flushing program. So we will see that, but we'll be able to have a justification as to why that's the case.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think the number you usually use is about 15% because I think we set a target to get to 11.
Right, yeah,
So
so
this
we've
year
seen 13 to 15% of non-revenue water, so we may see an increase in that.
Yeah, okay. I'll be curious what that is.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy to bring in the numbers that are calculated off the flushing for you
Yeah, great.
at
Thank
our
you.
next meeting. So this is a map to show you where we are in the process. Green is good. That's completed areas, and you can see that it's moving through the system. Subsections, there's 223 out of, I can't read that, 598, I believe. So 37% completed as of today. So we're moving forward with this. So, so some of the other things that we've kind of done with this, it's actually talking to some of our customers. They have had some concerns about this. And what we believe the issue is more of a sensitivity, and it's a change. This is a change from the water quality that they were used to. And so there's free chlorine, and you can taste it, and you can smell it. And that, for some people, is offensive or bothering, and they're concerned about it. And so we've talked to them, and Kristen has been very good about talking to each customer that wants to speak to an operator. We've gone out to a few sites and checked the chlorine to make sure everything is where we expect it to be. At one site, we actually went out and took a full suite of organic testing in the street and in the home because the customer was concerned about interactions with their piping. We haven't gotten those results back, but we don't expect to see anything unusual. As I mentioned, this free chlorine is predominant in the United States. I think it's close to 70% of the United States uses free chlorine. And
We did use that until we switched over, so.
yes, sir.
We're just going back to what we did on a temporary basis, so.
Yes, sir.
For somebody that's been around for a while, this shouldn't be so new.
Yeah, but for a lot of people it is, and it's scary when their water changes, and we extend a lot of empathy and talk to them and try to get them through this process to understand. Water is life, and we want to make sure that people understand that their water is safe and that we're doing everything possible to keep it that way. So a few people have been kind of upset about it, but we've talked to them and gone to their houses, as I mentioned. So I think that we're in a good position right now. We're moving forward. As I said, we've got a little more extra effort to move this a little bit faster, but we're not going to change anything as far as the quality of the flushing. And at the next meeting, I've got some really great pictures for you of what it looks like at night flushing with the lights in there. They're quite interesting pictures. So,
Is there, you started on the east side of town?
I'm sure there is. I don't know off the top of my head, but I can find
Okay,
out the rationale for it.
I was just
Work from
curious.
the farthest point in.
There's, it's very. I just don't like to. I don't like to take a guess and tell you something.
know.
But
I
I will
just-
find out and have that answer for you.
I was just curious.
Yeah. Are there any questions I can answer besides that? Okay. Thank you.
Well, I'll go quickly here because we're quite a ways into this so far. Emails, we're up 16% again, month over month, and we're blocking about 10% of all emails coming in. What I found interesting in the email volume is that apparently spammers like to take weekends off, and also the 4th of July, which was interesting to me. Utilities are in the news, unfortunately, for cybersecurity again. Two of the slides here. One, Nova Scotia Power had a compromise that lasted over a month. 300,000 customers had their information exposed. And then the one right there in the middle, in a Norwegian dam, actually had hackers breach their systems and open a valve to 100% at the dam, causing a spill. No flooding, no life loss, but these are the type of things that we're always looking for and concerned about.
So what were they trying to get? Were they looking for ransom to close the valve, or did they just do this and say, oh boy, that's it, huh?
Unfortunately, you have a couple different types of actors out there. You have state actors that are looking for access to systems controls and the ability to come back and then use those to challenge infrastructure so that they create chaos for communities. Or you have people that are looking for ransomware. They're just looking for money. those don't typically end up being state actors. They typically end up being cyber gangs and criminals that are just looking for that monetary.
It's something like that. You get, and most likely, I would suspect that came from Russia. Just looking like in event of a war, you know, being able to do damage to infrastructure, see if we can get in, control it, do it. That's most likely what that's going on.
Yep. On that note, I mentioned at the last board meeting a third-party payment processor that had a breach. During that breach, one of our customers' information was exposed. I want to emphasize again that none of Parker Water's systems were exposed during that breach. We reached out to the third-party payment processor. We asked for more information on that. They were able to provide that customer information to us, and then they let us know what their procedure moving forward would be. So in the next 2 weeks, they will be sending out letters to the customer via USPS, informing them what the breach was, what the exposure is, and then providing credit protection services for a year to that customer. That's what we were looking for, is ultimately that the third-party payment processor would be providing support to our customer. We have that information so that if the customer calls us, our customer care team is aware of this and they can provide information and services to them. Unfortunately, this type of thing is in the world these days. People are looking for ways to attack payment processing systems. We are continuing to communicate and engage with our third-party vendors, and I have to say that the response from this vendor was wonderful. They let us know within a week. When we asked for more information, they provided that within a week, which is light years ahead of the response that you hear from some of the large corporations where we don't know for months to years when a breach occurs. So we really appreciate the response from the third-party payment processor here. On that note, I'll turn it over to Jeff.
What you've all been waiting for. Just a couple of quick issues I wanted just to update you on the Platte Valley Water Partnership trial. It's set for August 11th. I'm coming up pretty quick. I'm not involved in the trial itself. It's Julianne Woolridge for Lower South Platte and Bob Crossa, who's our water counsel, but they're deep in settlement negotiations. I think there's 55 opposers in our case. As of earlier today, there were 15 that we had settled with or that had withdrawn their opposition. I think maybe one more came in today. It was at the state, I think. So one more today. That leaves 39 more to go. But you know, this is kind of how these things go. There's some discussions going on with some local water users that, you know, if we can settle with them, I think that others may follow. So they're moving along, but it's taking time. Meantime, trial prep's in full flow. My law firm has provided a paralegal to help with Bob's work and Julianne's work, and I'm really glad we did that because she's awesome. She's really been helping out with all trial prep, exhibit prep, getting hotel room reservations. She went to the court to see how the court operates. She's getting IT equipment together. You know, she's just been helping coordinate witness prep. So I've kind of been poking my nose in, making sure that I'm comfortable. It's not my case, but I think things are moving along pretty well. It would be awesome to get it fully settled, but you know, you got to prepare for trial. You can't hope to settle, but I think there's some hope that the trial could go away, or at the very least, it's not going to be as epic as it could have been. So
where is the trial?
Greeley.
Greeley.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's a few opposers who wait to see if the state settles with us, and then they're comfortable as long as the state has stipulated to certain things, and then other opposers get more comfortable when the state has come to agreement with it.
And you just said the state did, right?
Yeah, we've been working with them, yeah.
Yeah.
And most of the things that they have brought up have been completely understandable and really part of the process anyway, and we just had to make it more clarifying in the decree itself.
Yeah, it's a big case, a lot of people involved and a lot of moving parts, but yeah, it seems like it's going on pretty well. So, other issue is, you know, as we discussed maybe a month or so ago, and sounds like, James, it's good to hear there's 10 MGD coming out of the plant now. That's close to, I should say. And that just shows you what happens when you buy hundreds of new filters and you replace ones that are breaking. And you have a good staff who's also figuring things out. But we have a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday, internal meeting. I think most of our expert reports are getting done or close to being done. All these people we've hired and worked with to try and evaluate what the problems are with the plant. So we're having a management meeting, and Carla Kenzer, who's the consultant who came and presented to you several meetings ago, we are meeting on Wednesday to talk about what to do next. And our concept is that we'll have a presentation or provide our position to Kruger, who designed and was responsible for the plant, and try and have a meeting with them to talk about what we think needs to happen and what they can do for us. And after that meeting, which will probably happen in the early fall, we'll basically talk to you further and evaluate, what our next steps should be. So that's where we're at with that right now, and we'll keep coming back to you when we have options and we need more direction. So.
We had a consultant here a few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago now, that's an expert in the
That was Carla Kenzer.
Okay, so have some of the things that, with us getting up to close to 10 million gallons, was that the result of her work, or is there more work that's going to be done?
There is still more work that's being done, but a lot of, as Jeff was pointed out, a lot of the reports are now finished up, and they are in her hands for review. We have information coming back from like Florida, where they did some autopsies and so forth. And we had some experts come in, hydraulic experts that came in and looked at stuff. And we actually talked to an expert out of, I think he was out of Norway, that actually is helping with. So all this stuff is coming together into a comprehensive report that will be digested and then used to help support what direction we go.
And my concept or my thought is we're going to have a better idea once Carla's had a chance to really look at all that, and James's team. And then, there's going to be sort of what's the best bang for your buck, short-term fixes, middle-term fixes, long-term fixes, different options. Everything's going to cost different amounts. And then we want to have a meeting with Kruger and talk to them about, this didn't work the way we wanted it to work. We want to tell you what our concepts are, and we want to hear what you think you can do for us. And then based on that meeting, we'll probably come to you to talk about what to implement and where to go from there. That's what I'm thinking. Any questions on that? No, that's all I got for you today, so thanks.
Okay. That moves us on to the items of discussion and action by the board. Approval of the minutes for the June 26th meeting. Any additions or corrections to that? Seeing none, do we have a motion
So moved.
and a second? Second. And we have motion and a second. Okay, accounts payable, June 16 to 30.
Wait a minute, you got to vote on it.
Oh, yeah, let's vote on that. Yeah. Okay, do we have a vote on the minutes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, accounts payable, June 16 to 30. Any unanswered questions on that?
I have one question on that. On the first page at the bottom there, it was, I think, Devco services for $17,645. It was general contract labor. So I was just wondering what that really was. First page, almost to the bottom.
I don't know.
We're going to have to get back to you. That doesn't look familiar. Devco?
Right.
I think it's consultants. But we'll check and get back
Okay.
to you.
We'll follow up.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion.
So moved?
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have a vote.
Yes.
Yes. That moves us to information discussion, conservation efficiency update. Heather.
Well, yes, typically Heather is the one who is here, but she had some plumbing issues. She has recently moved houses, and in her old house, her washer started leaking, and it involved the plumber and drywall. So I told her that I would give the water efficiency and conservation update today. But if you have any questions, I will gladly write them down and have her answer them later. So earlier in this meeting, James credited the reduction from June of '24 to June of '25 on the rain. I'm going to give conservation the credit. So we'll see if that's a fact. So what we're going to talk about during our update, and we're going to go over a few of the highlights that we've been working on in May and June of this year, and then talk a little bit about the water efficiency master plan and what the schedule is for that. Then we'll highlight the things that we're going to be doing in July and August, and then again, questions and any discussion you guys might. So in this past 2 months, we had a very successful garden in a box pickup. So all the customers who had ordered their garden in a box had a chance to come in, ask any questions, pick up a yard sign. So a really good opportunity to outreach to our customers. We also attended the first South Metro Water Supply Authority Water Festival, which I do hear was a success. I was unable to attend, but I know we had to go buy extra candy, so that's a good thing. It means people were coming to our booth. We've had a chance to update our interpretive garden webpage. You'll see a couple of pictures of those. It looks really good on the website and a good resource for our customers. The programs that we work through Resource Central are being used. So our fall garden in a box, we have 17 claimed so far. 40% of our Slow the Flow program has been utilized. As far as lawn removals go, that's the program that we work with South Metro on. We have 3 who are actively removing turf and putting in some type of Colorado scape, and 3 that have been completed. So they've been able to utilize that grant.
Rebate, is that a rebate?
It's more of a matching funds, or like a rebate. They get money for it, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's through South Metro.
Right.
Yeah. And then our irrigation rebates, 50 have been claimed so far, which is 60% of our budget. And then you'll see a picture of the landscape conversion that we're doing in front of the water plant. Right now, you'll see some pictures of it, but it's a really good plan to kind of showcase some of the things that you can do with the Colorado scape area. And then we've actually updated our webpage as well. So as I noted, at the water plant, currently we have kind of a water-intensive landscape that isn't necessarily pretty, for lack of a better word. And so we want to use this area as an opportunity to showcase what you could do with the Colorado scape. And I think it's a great location as well, as a lot of people utilizing the incline will be able to pass by this. And instead of seeing an area that's getting watered that may not be as pleasing to the eye, they'll actually see something that may inspire them to do something in their yard.
I'm sure all of that stuff's deer-proof, right?
Well, maybe, we'll see. So we, on our website, have put up a page to represent what we've done in the front of this building. And these are actual photos of the flowers that we have in the front. I don't know if I can actually click on this website to take you to the page, but if you go to our website and look at the interpretive garden, there's some beautiful pictures of the plants and the flowers that are there, and the way you can create your own kind of like fiery garden and things like this. So we've really named them in that regard. So these are pictures of flowers that are out there. I did not take them, I'm no photographer. And then I also wanted to give a quick brief update. Our water efficiency master plan, we are in the final stages of that. It is in complete draft form, and we are ready for the public comment period. So it's going to get posted on our website, and there'll be 60 days for the public to have a chance to review it. We'll also be actually holding a webinar as part of and inviting the public to that. We'll meet with the towns as well to review what we've gone over. This is kind of state mandated steps to go through for that water efficiency plan. And then the Colorado Water Conservation Board will also review the plan and provide comments. After all those things are through, we'll bring the final version into the board for your request for approval.
So when you meet with the towns, is that like the planning departments?
It'll be several of the folks who we invited to those initial workshops. So it would be their planning departments, their land use, yes.
And that's going to happen in the next 2 months?
In the next 60 days, yeah, we'll
60
set up
days,
those
yeah.
meetings.
Does this include the water budgets for like HOAs, or are we still out on that?
We're still working on that. That's actually one of the focus points for the next 2 months. I believe they're talked about in the Water Efficiency Master Plan that is a goal that we have, but they're not rolled out as in how they're going to look within the plan itself.
If Heather would allow, I would like to sit in on the one with the town of Parker.
I'm sure Heather would be delighted, yeah. And then for July and August, again, we're going to be doing the water efficiency outreach. We're going to have another class similar to the one we did in the spring. This is one that our water efficiency specialist, Heather Johnson, put on. We had a smaller attendance, but they really, really appreciated the effort and the information that she provided. So we're going to do one in the fall, and we're really going to focus on the outreach side and see if we can't get and draw in a larger attendance for that class. We're also going to continue with design of our demonstration garden. That's going to be an area near the incline. We're working with Douglas County on that, and really just the conceptual design of what that could look like so we can start understanding what a budget would be for a garden like that. We're continuing the rebate program, and of course, we're still working on the water budget. That's been an activity for both Heather Johnson, as well as we have an intern this summer who's been working a lot on actually getting the irrigated area so that we could continue with that process. So any questions?
Questions? None here? Okay.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay. That brings us to a 5-minute break to get reorganized around the tables. Yes, Ron?
Yes, yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna reconvene over in the work session spot.
Informational discussion, board of directors, training.
I do want to make sure the board knows that we're stopping live streaming for this training, but of course, the public, if there was anyone here, they're more than welcome. But we wanted to record it so Brooke had access to the training as well.